So on the end of the day, he gets more gold, we get more gold. I mean, many will be happy. I'll just do what I'll do, spend it.
Tony was one of the most famous miners in the show. I almost looked like people who came to watch the show did it just to see him. People called him charming, others fascinating, but some of his fellow miners have a different story to say. The most interesting part is that these miners say different things from what the audience had to say. It looks like he was a different person behind the scenes, and what he said later about people he will never work with again further revealed what was happening and how it related with what other miners had to say. So, what exactly happened? Let's dig into the real story of the fake gold miners Tony will never work with again. Tony's beef with Parker Schnabel. Tony Beets is now well known for his very tough appearance and colorful language, as taken from his bio on Discovery. He made his first appearance on Gold Rush in the second season, serving as an advisor to miner Todd Hoffman, but he officially joined the cast full-time in the fourth season. That is when he first crossed paths with Parker Schnabel. The two of them formed a strong bond, with Tony acting as a mentor to the young prospector as Parker took over Big Nugget Mine. But in no time, their relationship became sour after Tony leased some land to his protege. According to media sources, Parker struck a deal with Tony to mine on an airstrip that he owned to extract a very important amount of gold and to turn a profit. Unfortunately, he quickly discovered that the royalty payment structure laid out in the lease meant that the harder he worked, the less he would earn. Parker provided this tricky agreement during the 9th season of Gold Rush, shedding light on the challenges he faced in the mining business Parker expressed. The royalty rates need to be revised. Once we hit 6,000 ounces, we're paying 25% in royalties. If we mine 8,000 ounces, we end up handing Tony Beets nearly $2 million. Honestly, I can't keep doing that without going broke. The previous year, Parker had stopped mining on the land as soon as he reached that 6,000-ounce mark to prevent losing his hard-earned profits to Beets, which is something he wanted to avoid repeating. Tensions came up after a very heated argument, when Tony refused to adjust the unfavorable lease terms. This left him scrambling to find an alternative solution. As the media stated, Parker had his team switch wash plants, where the machinery separates raw gold from the digging debris, every time they mined 1,500 ounces, only to switch right back afterward. This smartness allowed them to pay some royalties based on their net weight instead of the gross. As expected, Tony was not pleased when he caught wind of Parker's maneuver. What made him more upset was when he realized that Parker was transporting materials from his mud hole to his Klondike claim using the leased land. According to Mitch Blaschke, this is one small step for us, but a giant middle finger to Tony Beets. Parker also added in excitement that he was elated for the improvement. However, their celebration quickly faded when Tony arrived, switched off Parker's machinery, and shut down his wash plant. Fuming and highly livid, he said, "All week, you've been sneaking through the yard with rock trucks, and now you're sluicing over here." The contract clearly states that while you're leasing the ground from us, that's the only material you're allowed to sluice. Parker quickly fired back, accusing Tony of being greedy. "You'll make over $1 million this year. All you have to do is sit back and let the money roll in." Tony insisted, and Park replied to him in a very rude way, marking a unique turn in their tumultuous relationship. So, the drama between them became a huge part of reality TV history. He had a not-so-good relationship with Parker, who was also a major part of the show. But he was not the only miner he had issues with. He also faced legal issues due to some of the things he did. So, the question still remains: What led to his legal conflicts with his fellow miners? Hang on, and let's look into the details quickly. Tony Beets and his legal conflicts with fellow miners. During his time on the gold rush, Tony faced some charges for environmental violations, but ultimately received fines and other consequences rather than jail time. The charges were related to a breach of the Yukon Waters Act after Tony allowed the gasoline to be poured onto a dredge pond, which was subsequently set on fire. While they required him to pay for environmental cleanup and faced challenges in securing a new water license, he managed to avoid incarceration and continued his mining operations. Another source of misunderstanding about Tony could come from his dramatic business relationships, especially with fellow miner Parker Schnabel. As discussed earlier, news confirms that Parker himself has faced lots of legal troubles, including accusations from former employees. In addition, both Parker and the show itself have been scrutinized for allegedly staging events, such as physical confrontations. To top all these accusations, they also criticized Parker for imposing unfair contracts and high royalty fees on his mining partners. All of these elements, and more, contributing to the dramatic and often complicated narratives within the show. It wasn't only Tony and Parker who faced court allegations. Another gold rush miner also faced legal challenges. According to legit news from the media, the crew at Todd Hoffman's mining site encountered lawsuits from residents who claimed that the mining activities were disturbing the peace. The filming brought some economic benefits to the area, but the locals grew increasingly frustrated with the noise and disruption. Ultimately, the suit from Park County residents forced the miners to pack up and leave, which may have contributed to Hoffman's decision to leave the show. As for Tony Beets, if he isn't in jail, why are there a lot of videos circulating that claim otherwise? The answer to this question lies in the fact that not everything on the internet is accurate. People have highlighted how AI-generated videos are spreading false information. These videos often take snippets of true stories and twist them into narratives that many people readily accept without verification. Tony is not the only reality star who is subjected to such misinformation. Parker has also fallen prey to twisted jail rumors. Other television personalities, like Mike Wolfe from the show titled American Pickers and Rick Harrison from the show titled Pawn Stars, have had similar false claims about their incarceration debunked. These stories tend to take a little truth, such as Tony's violation of the environment, and they amplify the details for engagement and sensationalism. Speaking of jail issues, Tony was recently sentenced in Whitehorse after he was convicted in May for improperly disposing of waste and failing to report such actions. His mining company, Tamarack Inc., where he serves as a director, also faced similar charges of violating a water license. The issue started in October 2014, when a subcontractor, during the filming of the Gold Rush show, poured gasoline on a dredge pond and ignited it. The incident became public when the episode aired in February 2015. The penalties for these offenses could include a year in jail, fines of up to $100,000, or both. In his sentencing, the territorial court judge named Peter Chisholm noted that, as an experienced miner, Tony could have prevented the dangerous stunt, but failed to do so. The judge emphasized that the fine serves as a very clear message to polluters that the courts treat such offenses with utmost seriousness. During the trial in April, someone presented a clip from the episode in a Whitehorse courtroom, revealing a scene where gasoline was poured into a pond in Dawson City, which was situated next to a piece of mining equipment. They then tossed a torch into the water, igniting it in flames. Yukon's chief mining inspector, named Robert Savard, testified that his office received a complaint about the incident in March 2015, coming from Environment Canada enforcement officers based in Yellowknife. Following an investigation by the Territorial Department of Energy, Mines and Resources, charges were filed. In the 30-second video shown in court, a narrator describes Tony giving the mining equipment, known as a dredge, a Viking baptism to change its luck. Mark Favron, a welder employed by Tamarack, is seen in the clip pouring the gasoline. Mark also recounted that he asked Tony for permission to pour the fuel into the water and ended up using about half of a 7.5-liter container. He remarked that he was not aware he was on camera and attempted to step out of the frame upon noticing the filming. In his explanation, he said, "We were basically off the clock, and a lot of things were happening. At one point, I saw a gas can with some gasoline in it, and I thought it would be fun to pour some on the pond and set it on fire." After a lot of trials, several appearances in court, and back and forth between Tony and the prosecutors, he finally pleaded guilty and was fined around $17,000 for his actions. These happened, yet Tony kept on wowing his audience with every episode. But when exactly did this show start? Let us take a look at the Gold Rush show and how Tony has contributed to the show's success with the help of fellow miners. About the Gold Rush show and Tony Beets. Gold Rush has been an amazing show which has followed a lot of mining teams for the past 15 years, starting with a group of men who turned to gold mining in Porcupine, Alaska, after losing their jobs. Mining for gold is both lucrative and hazardous, making it an interesting subject for the show. But some questions have arisen about the genuineness of what viewers see. The nature of mining invites unpredictability, as events like mechanical failures cannot be planned. But some dramatic moments, like certain fights, appear to be scripted, and at least one cast member has confirmed this suspicious drama. Rumors about the show being scripted were fueled by Jimmy Dorsey, who revealed to Looper that a lot of the series, as well as his own departure, was scripted. Jimmy, the youngest member of the Hoffman crew, felt isolated after he pointed out safety violations that he was aware of. Tensions came when he and Greg Remsburg got into a physical fight, and Todd Hoffman had even threatened Jimmy with a rifle to ensure he would leave the crew. This behind-the-scenes drama has raised eyebrows and got people talking about the show's authenticity, leaving viewers and fans to wonder just how much of Gold Rush is real. Jimmy later stated that while he felt he was ostracized and acknowledged that his altercation with Greg was really authentic, his departure from the show was heavily directed and orchestrated. He claimed that Gold Rush was scripted, including the way they let him go from the Hoffman team. But his perspective may be colored by the situation, as other members of the production have different points of view. The series producer named Ed Gorsuch recognizes that some parts of the show are scripted, but he insists on the fact that this is done for true reasons. He explained to the media that it is challenging to keep audiences engaged with scenes of guys who dig the ground and wash rocks looking for tiny bits of metal. To maintain the enthusiasm in the characters and their journeys, the series needs to craft a compelling narrative. So, while certain events may be scripted, the overall production ideas were more of a guideline than strict rules. But then, the scripted dialogue can be necessary because the cameras don't pick up every conversation among the cast. While the show wanted to capture as many conversations as possible, as Ed noted, the show follows a planned weekly format to bring out specific characters or storylines. This means that very important discussions and discoveries that happen behind the scenes are sometimes overlooked. When something important occurs, the production might revisit the story to ensure viewers don't miss crucial details. In spite of the scripted elements, the unpredictable nature of mining remains. Ed's acknowledgement that Gold Rush uses a script as a framework doesn't stop fans from expressing skepticism about certain situations that seem impossible. For example, A Reddit user u/oldmenonsilver Creek pointed out the unrealistic timing of events and questioned whether Tom would really be unaware of the amendments to his water license. Another user, u/top-fig- 8-6-4-3, talked about the inconsistency in Parker Schnabel, occasionally lamenting about being nearly bankrupt, even when Discovery funds the project, suggesting that this narrative is difficult to believe. In the two cases, however, other fans stepped in to defend the show in the comments. Regardless of the scripted nature, fans continue to enjoy the show and the really interesting stories of the miners involved. At the end, although a lot of scenes of the show are authentic, the show often brings up certain narratives to keep viewers entertained, and it is clearly effective. The series has a highly committed fan base because, in spite of some aspects being dramatized, the risks miners aim to reclaim their lives resonate deeply with audiences. Whether the drama is genuine or staged, the gold they discover and uncover in each episode is undeniably real. About Tony Beets, he was born in December 1959 in Wydeness, Netherlands. He grew up on a farm where he developed a really strong work ethic from an early age. After immigrating to Canada in the early 1980s with his wife, Minnie, Tony embarked on a lot of manual labor jobs before he discovered his undying passion for gold mining. He settled in the Yukon, where he started working on little mining claims and gradually built his own operation from the ground up. What truly makes Tony Beets unique is not just his success. It's the strong determination he displayed while he was building his empire. Long before Gold Rush brought him fame, Tony had already made himself a respected figure in the Klondike mining community. He earned the nickname the Viking, not only because of his heritage, but also for his tenacity, persistence, and willingness to take bold risks. Over the years, he founded Tamarack Inc., the mining company that pins his wealth and legacy. Tony became a household name through Gold Rush, the incredibly popular Discovery Channel reality series that speaks about the endeavors of gold miners in the Yukon and Alaska. His presence has played a pivotal role in transforming the series into a top-rated program with a dedicated global audience and committed fan base. What do you think about Tony and his trouble with the miners, which he will never work with again? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. To enjoy more exciting videos, click play on the video on your screen. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new video drops.